Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to another live. All right, so in the context of this live conversation, we're just waiting for the opposition, so the People's National Party, headed by the Honorable Mark Golding, to begin their presentation. So we have been informed that the party, they're going to make a presentation, all right, regarding fact versus fiction. All right, and so we're waiting for that. That should get on its way in about 5 minutes or so, based on the time that was shared. And I suspect here that this presentation is in response to what was shared at the Jamaica Labour Party's conference on Sunday. And so, again, that's just my perspective and would love to hear your perspective. So, as we continue to grow stronger together here in numbers, I ask that you hit the like button, hit the subscription button, and share in the chat. So again, in just about 5 minutes or so, we should get our start to hear from the opposition leader. So we want to bring that to you and to talk about your views in the context of that presentation, whatever the topics that will be discussed. And so welcome one, welcome all. If you're new to this platform, welcome to the Voices in Education. If you're a returning viewer, listener, subscriber, welcome back, welcome back. Voices in Education is a safe space where we share and learn from each other. We do that in a respectful way to ensure that we're maintaining our safe community, our safe space where you feel valued, where you feel a sense of belonging. All right, so we do not bash anyone, we don't defame or disrespect anyone. We understand too that we share different views, or different perspectives, and that is totally okay. We understand also that there is so much richness in diversity, and it's not just my voice, for example, it's voices in education. So, welcome one, welcome all. Let's just keep it real and respectful. No disrespect. We can share our views, and even if there are frustrations, in a respectful way. So again, in a little bit, perhaps about 3 to 4 minutes, we should be, I'll be sharing here, what the PNP will be sharing live. So as we build here, welcome, welcome. So I'm just checking in to make sure that once they're up and running, we are ready to go as well. So just in a few minutes, so I am just paying keen attention here to another screen to ensure that I get us connected so we don't miss any of those updates. All right. So again, welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you here. If this is your first time here, consider, being a part of this Voices in Education community. Hit the like button, the share button, and most importantly, the subscription button. Turn on your post notification bell. We'll be here and we'll be doing Election Watch Jamaica as well. All right, started our first episode last evening and would love to have you on board with us for you to share your views on a number of topics that we'll be, looking at in this election watch. All right. So again, welcome one, welcome all. We do a lot of programs here. So current affairs, sports, everything and just about anything educational. And we understand that we learn from each other in this space. So it's not just me sharing, but also learning from you as a valued member of this community. All right. So that is why we ensure that we keep it real and respectful, where you have this safe space where you can share your views. All right. So, again, welcome one, welcome all. Really appreciate you being here at this point. Could you just kindly close the X, hit the thumbs up button? All right, let's get the likes going up and hit that subscription button as well. So perhaps in about 2 minutes, so at this point, we're just waiting for the opposition leader and I guess the PNP. And I suspect, some members there will share. All right. So welcome one, welcome all. You're not missing out. In about 1 to 2 minutes, we should have, that going as long as, they're on time. Don't mind the voice. I am here. And for those of you who are interested in schoolboy football, the Costa Cup, Manning Cup, we're here for that. That's the season, right? And the season is coming to gravy. We'll be here later too in the context of the Ben Francis semis. So ensure that you're sticking and staying with us. But a big question to you guys while we wait is what do you believe this presentation will be about? So my suspicion is that this presentation is going to respond to the JLP's conference presentations. All right, so there were several members of the JLP, including the party leader and Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who shared, on quite a few things. So I suspect this fact versus fiction will be in response to that. And if you looked at the fact is pretty much highlighted there in orange and the fiction in green. So, all right, so we're here for it and definitely want to hear what the opposition will have to share in this context. Just give me a moment here, guys. Let me just check to make sure that we're not missing the start here. So not missing based on, what I am seeing here. All right. So again, welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you here. And we're just waiting for the start right now. All right. Of the PNP's presentation. So I suspect any moment now. All right. So again, welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you guys here with us. And we are just checking to make sure that we are not missing out. So not missing yet or anything yet. So I'm just actively doing the checks here. And in a little bit, I'll definitely be in the chat with you guys. All right. So while we're doing that and waiting for the opposition to begin their presentation, let us know your views in the context of, what you're expecting from this presentation, fact versus fiction. So I'm just actively checking here so I don't miss the update here when it comes. All right, so we're waiting. We're told of a 10 o'clock start. All right, so we're just waiting for that to begin, this presentation, and it's technology. I know sometimes when we try to go live here, we have everything in place and it takes a little bit sometimes. So, let us just be patient here and I'll just continuously check to make sure that while I am talking, I am able to monitor so we can make that transition pretty quickly. All right. So again, welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you guys here. Let me just take a quick look in the chat. I am not seeing any comments in the chat. So roll call. Let me know who is here in the chat with us. And remember to hit the like button and the subscription button as we continue to grow stronger together. All right, so just waiting for the opposition to get their presentation going to share that with you guys. So I'm just waiting for an update here. I'm not seeing one just yet. So I'm just consistently checking here to make sure that, once they start, we're able to connect on screen. And so again, the start time that was communicated is 10 a.m. So we're just waiting a little bit because we understand, technology and what can happen. All right, so we're just waiting for that. All right, so welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you guys here with us. All right, really appreciate the support. And I am just, let me just double check here to make sure I am still good where this is concerned. All right, so nothing just yet. All right, guys. So I'm here and we're waiting. So let's just be patient and just wait. I suspect perhaps some technical difficulties, all right, in that context, but let's trust and hope that this will come. So we're just waiting for it. So again, welcome one, welcome all. If you're just tuning in, you're not missing out. We're just here and waiting for the opposition, the People's National Party, headed by the Honorable Mark Golding, to begin their presentation as communicated. All right, the start time should be 10 a.m. So we're just waiting. There can be some technical, challenges. One of the other things that I suspect that the party leader and perhaps, members who will speak to is the fact that Mr. Golding's statutory declaration has been completed, all right, in accordance with the provisions of the Integrity Commission Act. So I guess they will speak to it to say, that, his statutory declarations were certified, all right, and I believe that was gazetted on Sunday, November 24th, all right, so just Sunday. All right, I believe that was gazetted, I believe. And so that is something I believe that they're going to speak to, all right, in that context too. So just another thing to look out for. All right, so let me just go and check again. So I have to be checking. And hopefully I get some assistance from my co-host in a little bit. But right now it's just, me being hot cook and bottle washer, as they would say. All right, so just waiting, and let me just do this other check here. And nothing just yet. All right, nothing just yet, but let me just check here to see if I am missing anything. It doesn't appear to be that way. All right, so just to let you know that. All right, so we're just waiting for the People's National Party and to begin their presentation. So all right, so we're being updated that we should stand by. All right, so we're standing by here for the press conference. So they still mean business, guys. So that's good to know. So we're just waiting for that. So I suspect again, some challenges there, but you're not missing out. All right, so just to let you know that you're going to see a dark screen. I'm going to ensure that I am standing by to make sure that once they go live, we are ready. All right. So let me just stand by too to make sure that, we're ready for that. We're ready for, the presentation. So just here, just waiting, all right, for the party to get this one on its way. All right, so just thank you for your patience. Continue to stick and stay with us. All right, really appreciate you being here with us as well. And, again, I just kind of set my screen ready here for just getting ready for the presentation. So we're just being updated there just to stand by. So I guess just having a little bit of challenges there meeting that, 10 a.m. time. But we're here and we're waiting. So would love to hear from you in the chat here. Not seeing any comments, but I know persons are here, perhaps just waiting, and perhaps you're new and just wondering what this space is about. So this is a safe space where we share and learn from each other. All right. So we're going to bring you, diverse perspectives. So perspectives from the JLP, perspectives from the PNP. You have the information to make your decision. We're not here to influence anyone and to say you need to do this, you need to do that. And we want to hear from you. We want to learn from you. We want to hear what are your views are in the context of the two main political parties. We want to know if you're going to say, all right, we're giving the JLP another term, or if it is time come. We want to hear from you, all right? But we do that in a respectful way, so we don't disrespect anyone or defame anyone, so we keep it real and respectful. We can express our views without, being disrespectful, because we want this to be a space where everybody feels a sense of belonging, where you feel valued and where you feel as if your voice, matters. So we want to keep it that way. But let me just check in here to make sure that I am not missing out here. All right, so we're still waiting for the start. It was just communicated, it was just shared a few minutes ago, perhaps 3 minutes or so, 4 minutes now, that, we should stand by. So we're just waiting for that. And again, perhaps some technical challenges, but at least we know that it's still going to happen. All right. So we're just waiting for the People's National Party to get their presentation on the way. All right. So welcome one, welcome all. I don't know who is here in the chat, but I appreciate you being here. So even if you're a silent listener supporter, we appreciate you being here. So we welcome you to this platform. Welcome one, welcome all. Consider closing the X, hit that thumbs up button. Yes, so press the like button, press the subscription button. I believe at this point we can do a little bit better with the likes. All right, as we continue to grow stronger. And so let's start. 5 persons to hit the like button, 5 persons to hit the subscription button while we wait for the opposition People's National Party to begin their presentation. So we're here just standing by. So just on standby here and just waiting for the party to begin. All right. So again, I asked earlier, what do you believe this conversation, this presentation will be about? Would love to hear from you in the chat. And I shared that I suspect it's going to be in response to the JLP's conference on Sunday. And I suspect too that the party or the opposition leader is going to highlight the fact that is statutory declarations for, I believe, 2023. All right. In terms of that has been certified. All right, so that is something I believe that will come from this presentation. So would love to hear your views in this context. So guys, we're just waiting for the PNP to begin their press conference. So we're told perhaps about 5, not 5, perhaps about 7 minutes now that, please stand by for the press conference. So perhaps a little technical difficulties, but we're here and we're waiting. All right, so just to let you know, it would appear that we're going to hear from the speakers on screen. So Nikisha Burchell, all right, Shadow Minister of Information and Public Communication. Ian Hales, Shadow Minister of Water. And I guess we can figure out too in the context of the topics that were shared. All right, water was one of them. All right, in terms of the JLP, we'll also hear from the leader of the opposition, Mark Golding. It would appear too that we'll hear from Dr. Dayton Campbell, Shadow Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, and Philip Paulwell, Shadow Minister of Energy and Climate Change. So it would appear that we'll hear from these speakers and perhaps others. And so, again, if you're here, thank you so much for your patience. No fault of ours here, just waiting for the People's National Party to get their presentation on its way. All right, so in the last perhaps 9 minutes or so, we're informed to stand by. All right, so we're just waiting here. So welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you guys here. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am just checking to make sure that once they're ready, we are also ready. All right, so would love to hear from you. I don't know if I want to open the phone line because just in case they're ready to go, I don't want to do that. But the chat, guys, you can definitely communicate in the chat for now. All right, that would be fantastic. All right, so hit the subscription button, turn on your post notifications, select all. We're going to do election watch as well. All right. And so that is something that we want to do. All right. Each evening or most evenings as the election draw it nigh, I'll say, in terms of coming closer. And I was sharing last evening in our first election watch episode that given the presentation of the Prime Minister at their conference there, I was suspecting, just my view, that the elections will be called after the budget, so closer to the summer months. I could be wrong. So I suspect too that the PNP, they're going to say, call it, Andrew, call it, and we're here and just waiting to hear from the People's National Party, to hear from the president of the party, Mark Golding. And again, their presentation is titled Fact versus Fiction. And just looking at how they did the fact is in orange and the fiction is in green. So I am suspecting that they're coming to share the facts in the context of their party and going to highlight the fiction in the context of the Jamaica Labour Party. So we're waiting for that presentation. And perhaps again, they're experiencing some technical difficulties. So I am also here checking, consistently checking to make sure that we're not missing. All right. All right. So hold a moment, guys. They're ready. So let me just, you're going to see a dark screen, but I am just going to get the presentation ready. All right. So just bear with me right now. All right, guys. So I'm still here and I am just ready to get that presentation going for you guys. All right, so just give me a moment here. And let me just get the sound going here. I can see the opposition leader. All right, so not too sure here, and I suspect it's technical difficulties. All right, so let me just wait here for, things to, I guess, get a little bit better here. So I suspect that they're experiencing some technical challenges. So let me just stop sharing this screen here and just figure out what is going on there. All right, so because the audio wasn't coming in. All right, so I guess they're going to wheel and come again. All right, so thank you for your patience. We really appreciate you sticking and staying with us and just waiting. So here we go again. All right, so they are back up. So let's hear if the audio does not seem to be
generally
okay. Just give me a moment. The audio is there now, so let me just try and get that up for you guys.
fixing them takes hard, focused effort and great attention to detail. The last PNP government, in just 4 years of office, paid significant attention to this. We designed the super form to enable businesses to be registered and companies to be incorporated in a single application that resulted in the business or company not only having registration and incorporation, but also all the other required business registrations, TRN, NIS, GCT, etc., and a 6-month startup tax compliance certificate to get their businesses up and running, all in a single process through the Companies Office of Jamaica. The PNP government also passed the Security Interest in Personal Property Act to provide a modern framework for secured lending with a web-based registration system for registering security over collateral and expanding the types of assets and property that borrowers can use as collateral to include agricultural produce and intellectual property and other types of property that previously were excluded from secured lending. We also passed the Insolvency Act to modernize the laws governing insolvent businesses with a new emphasis on giving them breathing space with their creditors to try to restructure and get out of financial difficulties. We passed the Special Economic Zones Act to provide a modern incentive regime for investment zones to drive the economy. And we passed the Public Procurement Act to streamline the rules governing the use of government's purchasing power, including provisions for small businesses and other marginalized groups to get special treatment to give them a leg up in business. All of these were the result of consistent effort. And in 2014, the World Bank reported that Jamaica had the highest ranking in the Caribbean on the ease of doing business, having implemented the most reforms in Latin America and the Caribbean. In contrast, the current government's performance over the last 9 years has been dismal. In their 2 terms, they have done virtually nothing to improve the efficiency of the bureaucracy and the ease of doing business in Jamaica. They have passed no transformational legislation to improve efficiency of the bureaucracy, and they've done almost nothing to improve the ease of doing business. Therefore, when the Prime Minister on Sunday promised to make Jamaica's bureaucracy modern, user-friendly, and efficient, it is yet another empty promise, similar to his 2016 promises to have fixed election dates put in the Constitution and to hold a grand referendum to settle what he called outstanding national issues within his first 100 days in office. His promise on Sunday rings hollow, like the now defunct Economic Growth Council and the spectacular failure in delivering 5% annual economic growth after 4 years, which has not happened. The truth is that their very poor track record shows that this government does not have the capacity to deliver the reforms required to achieve an efficient bureaucracy. And this is not a task that private sector bigwigs can be of much assistance with. The PNP's record of legislative capability, innovation, and nimbleness is what is needed to resume the process of making a bloated and cumbersome bureaucracy work for ordinary Jamaicans and Jamaican businesses. We will deliver for Jamaica. Aspire, as his new program is called, is just another PR exercise. It does not inspire and can only expire. The JLP government will continue to fail the people. Furthermore, this is a government without credibility to back up promises. 8 of their members of parliament, including the Prime Minister himself, are under investigation for the corruption offense of illicit enrichment. It is a blot on Jamaica's international image and reputation. No Prime Minister can lead the country with credibility when he remains under such a cloud when it comes to his own financial integrity. The promised reduction of the rate of general consumption tax on electricity will not impact the majority of JPS customers who consume less than 150 kilowatt hours per month of electricity and already benefit from the tax exemption introduced by the Portia Simpson Miller administration. In fact, the greater savings from the tax rate reduction will accrue to wealthier customers who consume more electricity. What is needed is strong and capable leadership to drive down electricity costs in Jamaica through a transformation of the energy sector. The PNP has a plan to achieve this and a shadow minister with a track record of achieving it. We will bring modern legislation as we've done before and massive investment to the energy sector, and for that, our record speaks for itself. The meager break in market fees for craft vendors does not address their plight. They want a level playing field for doing business. The craft markets are in a terrible state, turning off visitors, and nothing is being done to encourage tourists to visit the craft markets. And massive investment so to the energy sector can make money. The People's National Party will ensure that government doesn't shirk its responsibility to make the tourism industry benefit our craft vendors and other locally owned businesses. And the last thing I will say at this point is that the so-called reverse income tax credit is to be turned into a $20,000 money giveaway. It is a blatant, run with it, vote buying scheme for the next election, and is taking place at a time when the economy is contracting and experiencing negative economic growth. However, the recent by-elections in Morant Bay and Annan Town show that the Jamaican people are not for sale and are determined to have a change of government. Thank you.
Leader of the opposition, colleagues, members of the media, good morning. I'm usually very mild-mannered when it comes down to criticizing this government. And this has a lot to do with, for the energy sector, trying to achieve greater unity and consensus. But today, I proclaim that we have not seen in any government since independence such gross mismanagement of the energy sector. And I believe what is happening is that the government, rather than pivoting for growth, is pivoting to elections. We have seen tremendous hardship to the consumers, but we've also seen, because of the high price of electricity, the lack of growth in our economy. Jamaica's energy cost is one of the highest now in the world, coming from 23 US cents per kilowatt hour in 2016, when we left office, to at times way over 40 cents per kilowatt hour. To solve the energy crisis, you have to have laser-like focus on both energy generation and energy transmission and distribution. It won't be solved by some half-baked, cynical, hand-wringing scheme at the 11th hour on the eve of national elections to throw little and meaningless goodies at the problem. We started a mini revolution of the energy sector between 2012 and 2016. We intend to complete that revolution from 2025 until the completion of our first term back in office. Our accomplishments in the period 2012 to 2016 saw the diversification of fuel sources, where over 90% of our electricity was generated from heavy fuel oil and diesel, to a situation from 2016 where 60% of our electricity was generated from LNG and about 20% from renewables. We also did certain modifications of the license to make it far more beneficial to the Jamaican people. We focus on cutting line losses by increasing penalties, and we did introduce prepaid arrangements with the capability to go island-wide. In fact, we introduced a pilot in 2014, and the Prime Minister is unaware that that pilot was expanded nationally by the time his government took office. Total electricity theft today, as a result of the failure of this government, is greater than when the JPSCO was sold in 2001. No new procurement, except for an announcement that we believe the minister will be making this week, after promising over 240 megawatts of renewable energy in 1 year, and then for it to be increased by 100 megawatts. We are seeing the government, after 9 years, announcing the award of licenses for 100 megawatts of new renewable capacity. And this is an instance of gross mismanagement. In 2013, we were able to secure procurement after 1 year in office. And why this is so egregious is that because of what has happened with solar, we are seeing now prices, bid prices for electricity at below 8 US cents per kilowatt hour. These licenses will not take effect until the PNP is returned to power, and no earlier than 2027. Our solution: give power to the people, to democratize electricity, to recognize the power of solar, and also to negotiate a new license with the JPSCO. We, when the time comes for our manifesto to be revealed, will show to Jamaicans that there's tremendous hope for the future with lower electricity prices. The party leader has already commented on the reduction that was announced by the Prime Minister of GCT from 15% to 7%. The GCT reduction disproportionately benefits high-income earners. More than 75% of households will experience minimal relief, with savings capped at about $237 per month. And also in relation to prepaid meter rollout, again, the fact of the matter is that we did start in 2014 this prepaid facility, which was abandoned, really, even after we were able to demonstrate its success and the fact that it was capable of going nationwide. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. First, let me say the announcement on Sunday in regards to water we regard as a knee-jerk reaction. This wasn't a decision which was taken by the board of the NWC before the Prime Minister came and made those announcements. The NWC has 547,321 customers. Of that amount, 350,000 is in delinquent in some way, shape, or form. There's a total of 150,000 customers of the NWC who are just basically fall off the system and not paying any water bill whatsoever. The NWC is owed a total of $52 billion. 0 to 5 years, 13 billion, 6 to 14 years, 15 billion, 15 years and over, 24 billion. This government has been there for 9 years now and has done nothing about it. I also note that the NWC, in terms of the customer base now, a monthly collection of $3.3 billion is collected monthly from the customers of the NWC. The 350,000 that is not paying or in some form of arrangement with the NWC will not get a break from what was announced on Sunday. The PNP back in 2012, heading on up into 2016, had a social water mechanism within the NWC where pensioners and those that are on path would pay a certain percentage, a certain amount. I think it was $500 at the time it was capped. This was removed from the NWC. And I'm asking here, if it was removed, what are the reasons why it was removed? So from the 547,000 with the 350,000 delinquent, it leaves just 197,000 citizens or customers of the NWC that are paying the water bill for everybody else in this country. So from the 197,000, as I said before, they will see no meaningful gain from the announcement which was made. Our teachers, the 197,000 citizens are customers of the NWC, our teachers, firemen, police, farmers, nurses, taxi drivers, and even some of the current pensioners will not see any benefit from what was announced on Sunday. To further my argument, the Commission database, the NWC database, cannot tell you who is a pensioner from who is a path beneficiary. Here again, the policy was not thought out. It was a knee-jerk reaction and an announcement which was made. If you really want to help the customers of the NWC or the citizens of Jamaica who are faced with hardship, an average customer uses around 3,000 gallons per month of water. First thing you'd want to do is to cap it or create a rate, a flat rate for the 3,000 gallons that the citizens use monthly. Another thing, again, you pay dollar for dollar in terms of sewage and water. You could cut back, you could have made an announcement. If you really wanted to help those that are suffering, you could reduce the sewage by anywhere between 25 and 50%. The 197,000 paid customers should be incentivized because they're the ones that are footing the bill also. We agree that after 9 years, there's no prosperity and there's hardship on the land. But in this party, we agree to help the poor, help the pensioners, and all the other stakeholders. But it must be met with a clear policy framework, research, consultation, board approval, management execution that speaks to a clear vision for the NWC. I just want to say again, look, water is too important to the people of this country to be taken or used as a political football in an election season. The NWC needs to be reformed. As I said before, the 197,000 citizens, let's create a way to incentivize them in terms of allowing them to grow and to also show some kind of help to them within this period of hardship. And I just want to say, look, to the staff of the commission, I know for sure that the commission up to yesterday was still calling the Ministry of Social Security and Labor to find out how many citizens are on path and how many citizens are on in terms of the pensioners that are collecting pension. So this was not well thought out. It was a knee-jerk reaction, and it shows a level of desperation on the part of the government. And I'm saying once again, let's put all that aside and let's not use the NWC as a political football. In the end, I think probably approximately 10% out of the 547,321 customers of the NWC will get some help or get some aid going forward. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I watched the conference on Sunday in two capacities. First, I watched as the General Secretary of the People's National Party. And of course, I watched in my capacity as the spokesperson for agriculture, fisheries, and rural development. And I will have some remarks in both capacities. One of the truest measures to determine good management of production and supply of any crop is the relative stability of prices on a weekly and monthly basis within any given year. The government's management of a flagship program to reduce onion imports through its import substitution initiative provides the clearest indicator of its management inability. Minister Green speaks glibly about the establishment of storage facilities, and yet farmers suffered losses earlier this year when production exceeded the monthly requirement of 850,000 kilograms. And they had no appropriate storage facilities, prices were depressed, and inadequate storage facilities resulted in crop deterioration and resultant losses. Recall the cries of the farmers in his constituency of Southwest St. Elizabeth that had to discard of their onions. The supply management of onions has had a significant impact on the consuming public. Recall the lamentations of the consuming public last year and the year before when prices unbelievably reached over $1,000 per kilogram. This should not happen with the application of good management. The total consumption on a yearly basis is known, so it's relatively easy to determine the quantity to be imported without displacing whatever local production exists at any given time in the production cycle. Over the last 5 years, 2019 to 2023, the average annual prices moved from $448 per kilogram to $740 per kilogram, an increase of 65%, or an average yearly increase of 13%, which is way above the annual inflation rate. This can neither be good stewardship of a flagship program nor purposeful management of the variables that affect the average consumers. The management of imported supplies was equally inadequate. The price of imported onions moved from an annual average of $468 per kilogram in 2019 to $783 in 2023, an outturn of 67% over the period and a yearly average of 13.5%. Again, significantly above the annual inflation rate. This cannot be good management and exposes Minister Green's assertion of a build-out of appropriate facilities is hollow. Another product falling under the flagship import substitution program has had no better management. In 2014, the past PNP administration was able to achieve 90% production of Irish potatoes. And now the JLP has reversed those achievements to levels below 70%. In 2023, 6,852,000 kilograms of Irish potatoes was imported, representing a 43% increase over 2022, figure of 4.7 million. This requires a special audit to determine why the efforts of the ministry are failing rather than providing the expected results. When we look at polling in the country, one of the topical issues is cost of living. The hollowed attempts that were made on Sunday does not address the cost of living crisis. If you were to go to Megamart, a pound of lettuce, $814. A pound of cabbage, $380. A pound of Irish, $400. A pound of carrots, $550. A pound of red pepper, $900. A pound of sweet pepper, $600. I was tempted today to bring a basket to repeat what the Prime Minister did when he said what could hold in a basket for $10,000. But when I checked, the price of the basket was more than the $10,000, so I aborted the mission. When I look at what my electricity bill is, my bill came to $15,500. I look at how much GCT I'm paying, and it is $993. The 53% saving that I will get on a monthly basis is $547 Jamaican for the month, $547 Jamaican. It is the same as a pound of carrot at Losushan. 1 pound of carrot is what the government is offering to me as a productive citizen as an attempt to say that they are cushioning the crisis. Agriculture currently only contributes about 9% of the gross domestic product, even though agriculture employs over 250,000 persons are registered as farmers. It is the largest employer of labor, but it is not making the commensurate contribution to the gross domestic product of the country. We have had an increase in our food importation bill. In 2016, when this government took office, food importation was at $838 million US. Last year, it went up to $1.4 billion US, an increase of 75% under this administration. What they're doing is that they're importing more, they're producing less. By any metric, the Minister of Agriculture may be very good at promoting parties, but when it comes on to agriculture, he is a failure. If you want to say you like him, then say that. But an assessment of his stewardship in agriculture is that of failure. The agro-parks, go and visit. I am sure investigative journalism is not dead. Go and visit any agro-park you would like, and you will find idle lands inside of those agro-parks. You understand why production is down. He spoke about putting land titles into the hands of persons. This administration has taken some of the most arable lands with the infrastructure in Bernard Lodge and given it for housing purposes. They have caused less arable lands to be under production by their own doing. In relation to irrigation, only 12% of the arable lands in Jamaica currently have irrigation. He speaks about the irrigation project in St. Elizabeth, which is not a brainchild of his. I suspect that he's trying to be like the Prime Minister and try to father a road that he did not conceive when they named the highway after former Prime Minister Edward Seaga, even though he opposed its construction. It is in keeping with their nature. After 9 years and 8 members of parliament being investigated for illicit enrichment, they now say to the public, it is your turn. An admission that the first 2 terms were for them and their cronies. The Prime Minister says his MPs are not performing after 300% increase, and now they want to say, give them another term. What can go so? Term limits. This Prime Minister lobbied for 2 terms as the limit for a Prime Minister. Now he's campaigning for a 3rd term. We will not have it. 9 years of bad roads. This government cut out the road maintenance fund. So when you drive on any road in Jamaica, you see cars on the side. They are not just parked there. They have suffered damage to their cars, punctures. I myself had 2 punctures on one side of the vehicle in Holland Bamboo. The roads in Jamaica, as admitted by all of the speakers at the Labour Party conference, they are in a terrible condition. And so I finish with the words of the chairman of the Labour Party. They inside the JLP know that time comes for change. Thank you very much.
We'll now open the floor for questions. If you're in the room and you have a question for any of our presenter, please say the name of the media house you represent, your name, and then move to your question. If you're online, please use the raise hand icon and we'll acknowledge you.
Good morning, everyone. First off, Mr. Golding.
Yes, Ms. Small.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
There has been an increase in racially charged rhetoric directed at you from members of the JLP, and especially as we're going into the general elections, there is an expectation that those utterances, will continue. I want to get a reaction from you on those utterances. And also, does the PNP intend to pursue a legal battle to get the mayorship of Maypen? And one of the criticism that have been leveled at the PNP from the JLP as well as other members of society is that, there is no concrete plan that has been shared with us as to what the PNP intends to do should it form the next government. So I want to ask you, when does the PNP intend to share those plans with Jamaicans?
Thank you for your questions, Small. First of all, Jamaica is a society that has a motto, out of many one people. I'm a born Jamaican. I didn't choose my skin color and no one chooses their skin color. I'm a loyal Jamaican, a patriotic Jamaican, and I'm giving of myself to serve the people of Jamaica. I think that the JLP's attempts to use my color as a political battering ram smacks of desperation on their part. It is unprecedented. I don't think any political leader has faced what I have been facing in this regard. And it is because they see that this tide has turned against them. And the people of Jamaica are fed up with them, the dishonesty, the lack of integrity, and a government which pursues policies that don't benefit the people in a direct way. So people have lost hope. People want change. And I suppose I'm the embodiment of that as the leader of the opposition. And therefore, they're trying to attack me. And in a sense, I'm flattered that all they can really attack me on is the color of my skin. I'm somebody who grew up here. My wife is an African Jamaican, beautiful woman. And my children are born in Jamaica. And I'm a proud Jamaican citizen. So I think that this is a sad turn of events. And I'm very disappointed in the leadership of the Jamaica Labour Party that they tacitly encourage this kind of behavior, because to me it indicates a lack of principle on their part. And Jamaica's part of the family of nations, We live in a world which is very connected. And other countries, other races of people are looking on and saying, how is it that the government of Jamaica is allowing a junior minister or a former minister, 2 MPs, to be using racial taunts and slurs as a source of attacking a political opponent? It's very bad form, and it's unfortunate for Jamaica, and it really needs to stop. The other issue you raised was to do with the Maypen by-election. Our position is that with an equality in the number of councillors at the Maypen Parish Council, Municipal Corporation as they're called now, and the PNP having won the popular vote in the parish in the February elections, but also even more so with this by-election now, the right and proper principal thing is for the existing mayor to step down and to allow democracy to prevail and to have the PNP councillors choose a mayor. That is a position that we believe is correct. In terms of what we will do in terms of our legal strategy, I'm not going to disclose that today. On your last question, I have spoken extensively as to the priorities of the next PNP government. I do it in the budget debate every year. I do it at annual conference. And if you look through the things I've said over time, you can see the broad outlines of the types of policies and programs that the PNP will be bringing to Jamaica. We will be seeking to make a more inclusive and equitable society. We want to strengthen economic growth by investing in human capital, fixing the education system, making the health system work for ordinary Jamaicans, strengthening agriculture so we have a more resilient economy, and focus on rural development. We see the logistics opportunities in Jamaica as underexplored, and there's tremendous potential there. That's an area of focus for us. So I'm just giving you some of the ideas that we have. In terms of the granular detail, we believe there's a time and place for getting to that level, and we will decide when we get to that level. Thank you.
A question here online. At the JLP conference on Sunday, Darrell Vaz used a gesture symbolizing the cutting of the neck. Also, other representatives of the JLP have indicated that they intend to win the election by any means necessary. Is violence something the PNP expects to see in the general election campaign, and what is their message against this?
General Secretary may have some comments on that, but what I would say is this: Jamaica doesn't want to regress to the era of political violence, which has become the source of a lot of our problems in terms of peace and safety of our society. It has a sad legacy that it has left behind. And those remarks, which are incendiary, suggestive that they're prepared to utilize violence, it's sad, and I hope that voters are taking into account, because I think it is something that ought not to be supported at any time. We do not believe in the use of violence for any solution of any problem. And we think that it is a sad day that the JLP, because they're under political pressure, they're way behind in the polls, and my own favorability is now ahead of the Prime Minister's personally in the polls, that they are now resorting to threats, intimidation, and other underhand tactics, which we saw and which we will be documenting and sending to the EOJ and the Commission of Police in the 2 by-elections that we contested and won last Friday.
The media reports have indicated that the Prime Minister's speech is laced with goodies, indicating an election is near. How ready is the PNP for elections? This is for the General Secretary.
Thanks. Just to say a few words on the previous question, that a few years ago at Champs, there was a youngster that was running a race, and at the finish line, he turned towards his opponent with his 2 fingers up, and he was heavily criticized for it. There are persons that went as far as saying they should take away the medal from him. Now, for us to have a minister of government on a political platform that is suggesting that he is going to decapitate someone or cut their neck, I think is totally unacceptable. And I think it speaks to the general deterioration of standards and morals in the Labour Party. Because when you have the Prime Minister, the leader of a party being investigated, he cannot bring order because he can't speak to others within the party and instill any discipline in that organization. In the recently held by-elections, there are persons in the company of members of the Labour Party that were arrested with illegal firearms. In Morant Bain license, outside of the house of the candidate, they fired shots and tore down the orange clad dressings that were there. And after their conference in downtown, they fired shots saying Andrew Holness badness. We come in peace. Our saying is that the word is love. We are trying to build a nation, not tear it down. And we are not willing to burn down Jamaica to rule over the ashes. We come in peace. In terms of our preparations going into the next election, we started out on a process of selecting candidates just over a year ago. And we went through a very methodical means of selecting the candidates scientifically. And we have put candidates in place that we are proud of. You will never hear the leader of the PNP saying on any platform that our candidates are failing or that they are failures, because we have good candidates in place. The PNP is polling ahead. The leader of the PNP is polling ahead of his opponent, and our candidates in the constituencies are polling ahead of their opponents. We are ready for an election. And we say to the Prime Minister, stop the jokes, call the election, because time comes for a change.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, thank you for joining us today. As we approach a critical juncture in our nation's political journey, the PNP remains steadfast in its commitment to transparency, fairness, and the protection of our democracy. Please engage with us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Have a good rest of
All right, so we have gotten some updates. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us in the chat there. Welcome one, welcome all. So happy to have you here with us. Please remember, come on, man, we have over 100 and we don't even have 50 likes. Hit the like button, hit the subscription button. Let's go. Can we get 60 persons to hit the like button and hit the subscription button? So I took some notes and I'm just going to share what I have, and I am going to open the phone line just to take some quick calls, and we keep it real and respectful, all right, in the context of, just what was shared, and I'm just going to try to do my best to share here, all right, in that context. So the opposition leader, Honorable Mark Golden, started out, and he shared on a number of acts that the PNP they had passed, all right, and he talked about, for example, in 2014 that the World Bank, I believe, gave Jamaica the highest rank in the Caribbean in terms of doing business. And he's saying since the 9 years the JLP is in power, nothing has improved in the context of bureaucracy. And so the fact that the PM is sharing that the JLP is going to fix bureaucracy is an empty promise. He talked about the 5% annual economic growth, efficiency, poor track record to achieve efficiency in the context of bureaucracy. He mentioned about the Aspire program and saying that it does not inspire, it will expire. All right, so just some play on words there, and that the government is without credibility in the context that 8 of their MPs, including the Prime Minister, is under investigation for illicit enrichment. He touched on the JPS briefly in the context that, based on what the Prime Minister shared in his presentation at the national conference, right, that will not benefit, I guess, ordinary Jamaicans. It's more for the wealthier Jamaicans. And so strong and capable leadership is necessary to drive down costs. And the PNP has a plan with a shadow minister that's Mr. Powell there to do the job. And so he also touched on the break that the craft vendors will get from the Prime Minister's presentation in fees, and saying that will not improve tourism or benefit craft vendors. Also here, he also shared, which is a big one in the context of the reverse income tax credit, that this is pretty much a 20K, a $20,000 giveaway, and it's a vote buying scheme. And I understand in that context because I guess he's really saying that the prime minister having opened this some more, because if you're 18 years or older and you're not captured on part, you're not captured in the social pensions program, NIS, you can still get this 20,000 and you'll be subject to a needs assessment. So once we know about that information, we'll come here and share that with you in the context of how you can access that money. All right, so next thing too, was that the recent by-election, this is from the opposition leader, showed that the Jamaican people are not for sale and they're determined to get change. So in the context of Mr. Paulwell, he shared that there was a gross mismanagement of energy, and the government was pivoting for elections and not growth. And he talked about the energy costs going up, and he also talked about the fact that, I guess the JPS system in the context of prepaid arrangements were introduced by the PNP to go island-wide in 2014, right? And so that was something that he touched on. And really that, and also in the context of the GCT moving from 15 to 7%, is saying also that this will benefit high income earners, and the prepaid meters that PNP started back in 2014, was abandoned after, the PNP demonstrated that that system was successful. So what he's saying is that to give power to the people to democratize electricity in Jamaica, and I guess they're planning on negotiating a new license with, the JPS. So that's pretty much what I have there from Mr. Paulwell. In the context of Ian Hales, he touched on water, all right, and saying that in the context of the measures, for example, that were shared in terms of, giving, a break in that Mr. Holness shared there at the JLP to pensioners and reconnection fees, etc., that, the board of NWC, they weren't made aware of this, in the context of the Prime Minister's announcement. So they were pretty much blindsided. That's what I'm getting from, the minister there, Hales, and shared also that 52 billion is owed to the NWC and the government. It has been 9 years and they have done nothing about that. All right, and saying it is difficult too for the NWC to figure out who is on, part, NIS, pensioners. And so they have been calling the Ministry of Labor to find out how many customers are, on part. And you saying this is really a knee-jerk reaction in that context, and saying too that there are 197,000 customers who are paying water bill for everyone in the country, and that, they should be incentivized in that context. They should benefit. All right. And right now, as it stands, they won't, given that. And he shared that, teachers, police, firemen, taxi drivers, and pensioners will not realize, what that outcome that the government is portraying. I believe he did share that pensioners would pay about, or it was for them, okay, that the PNP had a system where pensioners and part per persons and part would pay about $500. So it wasn't specific in terms of the amount, and that would be good. And that was removed, and he's asking the question why. All right, over to Dayton Campbell. He talked about, pretty much agriculture and the fact that farmers were suffering losses, no appropriate storage facilities. He spoke specifically in the context of onions and potatoes, and in the context of the import bill being increased by, I guess, 75%. So the country importing more but producing less, and pretty much that's a failure on the part of the minister there. All right, so pretty much there, and saying also too that agriculture is one of the very big employment sector, but it's not making that significant contribution to the GDP. All right, so pretty much around that in the context of his presentation, and that the agro parks, he asked that, media houses should go and do some investigation that, you'll find idle lands. All right, and you can understand from that why production is down in that context. And he talked about the titles that the JLP was mentioning, and saying that they gave Jamaicans lands for housing. I think specific reference was made to Bernard Lodge. All right, and they talked about an irrigation project that the minister was claiming to be that of the JLPs. And he also touched on the fact that 8 MPs are being investigated. And the Prime Minister shared that his MPs are not performing, all right, after increasing salaries. And his thing was, what can go so? All right, but again, we know salary, it's right across the board. It's not just the JLP MPs that are getting that. And, 9 years of bad roads, government cuts, in terms of the road maintenance funds. And he's pretty much saying time come for a change. All right, so thereafter, they had, just question and answers, and a few questions in the context of the opposition leaders, racially charged comments, and does the PNP intend to pursue legal battle in the context of the mayorship of Maypen, and what are the concrete plans from the PNP? And so Mark Golden answered these 3 questions. All right, in that context, he shared more on the racially charged comments. And, he started out by saying that, the Jamaicans' motto, out of many, one people. He did not choose his skin color. As a matter of fact, no one does. And he's a very patriotic Jamaican. He has given himself to serve the people. And it's just out of desperation that the JLP is resorting to this, this context. He also shared that this was unprecedented, that no other political leader faced what he's actually facing in the context of these comments. And people want change, so they're pretty much attacking him. And he mentioned that his wife is African Jamaican, his children were born in Jamaica, he's a proud Jamaican citizen, and is very disappointed in the leadership of the JLP for tacitly encouraging this type of behavior, and I guess from minister or junior ministers. All right, and so in the context here, I'm just checking. Okay. Also in the context of the mayorship for Maypen, all right, he shared that with the equality in the context of councillors, all right, and the PNP having won the popular votes back in February, and even in the context of this by-election, the right and proper thing is for the current mayor to step down. And he was asked about their legal position, and he says he will not disclose that position at this time. In terms of the concrete plans, and that was a question asked there, in terms of the concrete plans for the country, he shared very generally that that is something that he has shared all the time. In budget presentation, they're looking forward to an inclusive society, fixing education, for example, strengthening agriculture, fixing rural development. And he's saying that the details, the granular details, will come. There's a time and place for getting to that level. So no rush there in terms of sharing what, so still not sure what the specific plans are, but I suspect that given what the JLP is onto, they're going to kind of, do their plans around that. And again, based on my suspicion, I am suspecting that the elections will be called after the budget, so closer to the summer months. in the context, there was a question asked about Mr. Darrell Vaz and some gesture that was symbolizing, some negative violent action. And, it was shared that Mark Golding's favorability is ahead of the Prime Minister. So I guess the JLP, they have resorted to that kind of tactic, and Jamaica doesn't want to regress to the era of political violence. All right, Dayton shared, the question was also asked, how ready is the PNP for the general elections? And, he touched on some other things in regard to, I guess the gesture and what happened at Champs with the athlete, all right, Antonio Watson, I suspect, in terms of the gun salute. But there was another one, so I'm not too sure. Let me just retract that, all right? And that it was unacceptable, and he talked about issues in terms of the municipal elections and after the JLP's conference. And he's saying in the context of their readiness for the general election, candidates have been selected. There are good ones in place. The PNP is polling ahead. All right, Mark Golden is polling ahead. The MPs are polling ahead, or the candidates are polling ahead. And so, the government should call it, call it, call it. So welcome one, welcome all. So just to kind of give you an update in the context of what that is looking like. So I am going to drop the WhatsApp number in the chat there just to get some, just to hear your views. And Courtney, welcome. I just seen your comment there in the chat. And Courtney saying PNP means party with no plan. All right. And okay, I see your other comment there. In the context of song My Leader Banya. Okay, okay. All right. Thanks for sharing in terms of Mr. Was against Mr. Siaga. So guys, the WhatsApp line is open. We're just going to be here just a little bit. All right. So would love to hear from you in that context. So give us a call. Hit the like button, guys. I can't believe that we're not at 50 likes. Hit the like button, hit the subscription button as we continue to grow stronger together. Turn on your post notification bell so that you do not miss any updates from this channel. All right, welcome one, welcome all. I'm not sure if my co-host is here with me, but I am just checking in the chat to see if I see any new comments, and I'll wait to see if we'll get, a call or two, but just giving you the opportunity to participate and interact. So what are your views on the presentation from the PNP? All right, would love to hear from you in that context. All right, so if you'd like to share with us, you can share in the chat. You can give us a quick call. Ovi, I suspect that you're here now. Would you like to share with us?
Yes, I am here, and welcome to all the persons who are on. An interesting presentation, I would say, from the PNP hierarchy, and lots of questions. I would say, just to find the truth, your personal truth. So I think I'll have to delve into some research to find out what is happening because, the opposition opposes what the government has. And, as a citizen, I would definitely want to know what the truth is. So that's pretty much my stance on things. But, I must commend the PNP for coming out to, try to address some of the things that were raised by the JLP over the weekend. And it's good when we have a country with an opposition that is active. So I'm saying that a good government is held accountable by a good opposition, and I think they have tried their best to hold them accountable to what they put forward over the weekend.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I get what you're saying. And you know, I would love for them to touch on some, specifics in terms of what was shared, but I suspect, well, we didn't get that much, in terms of some of the things. And so, still, more there, but, I guess something that stuck with me was the reverse income tax credit, to say that's like a giveaway, and, it's really an election goodie. And so just some things there, but not a lot in terms, because when they were asked, what are some plans, not a lot. So it was really to come and share in the respond to their conference, not really to put forward plans, specific plans, I would say, based on what I've heard here. And I'm not sure if Jamaicans or guys, if you're in the chat and that's okay with you, that's totally fine, But there wasn't anything in terms of specifics to say these are the things that we're going to do or we would do, where, for example, they felt that, there was some shortcoming. They did share though, but for example, with the what NWC, that the paying customers should be, they should get some benefit, but not how they would do that. And I believe too, yes, they shared about it was still NWC in terms of the dollar to dollar in terms of water and sewage. That was NWC. But JPS, they mentioned that, the reduction would benefit, higher income earners as opposed to where it should go. So I am just checking here in the context of my notes, but I didn't get a lot in terms of, this is what we would do. Some things they highlight what they have done, or the administration, the PNP administration has done in the past. But when pressed on specific plans, Mr. Golin said, they have always been sharing, and, there will be a time for that in terms of sharing specific details. So we look forward to that. And as you shared, they're coming to the people in terms of sharing, and they're not afraid to call, their press conference, and, to ensure that their perspective, their policies, their views are communicated to the people. So in terms of that accessibility, and in terms of just hearing from them, it's looking good. So it means that once we're getting the communication, as citizens, we can hold these political parties, to whatever it is that they're saying, all right, in that context. So I am not seeing any, phone calls, not getting any phone calls at this time. So we're going to wrap this one up. All right, we're going to wrap this one up, and I just want to thank you so much for tuning in and, keeping this space a safe one. So thank you so much for being, real and respectful, and we really appreciate your support. And we bring both sides. So just to let you know that. So it's up to you to make your decision in that context, and we're going to do election watch. All right. So if you're interested in that, please continue to stick and stay with us. Would really appreciate your support. All right. So remember to subscribe, hit that post notification bell. So select all so that you do not miss any updates from this channel. We do quite a lot in terms of programs, and we would love your support as we continue to grow stronger together. And we also have this platform to support students, and we're trying our best to do that. So with your help, we can, well, we started in some sense, but with your help, we can definitely get that going in a bigger and better way. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Blessings and love, everyone. Take care, and remember that with Christ in the vessel, you can definitely smile at the storm. All right, so before you go, consider hitting that like button and that subscription button. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next live.